Hey everybody, and welcome back to Sip and Talk.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the U.S. stock market.
Oh, yeah.
It's been making some pretty dramatic moves lately.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting because it's not just investors getting nervous. It's really about this global perception of America.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, is America still the economic powerhouse it once was?
Yeah.
And is the American dream still, dreamy?
Exactly. And is all this tied to the potential return, I guess we can say, of someone with a penchant for red hats?
Maybe.
And bold pronouncements?
Let's just say the market seems to be reacting pretty strongly to the possibility.
Well, I know my wallet's having a reaction to just about everything these days. I mean, remember when avocado toast was like the symbol of millennial overspending?
Right.
Now it's practically a luxury item.
I actually saw a report this week that compared global trade to a giant game of Jenga.
Oh.
Like, everybody's pulling out blocks and shifting alliances, and nobody's quite sure if the whole thing's going to topple over.
All right, so let's start with the earthquake that shook Wall Street on March 10th.
Yeah.
Picture this, the Dow Jones down a dizzying 890 points, the NASDAQ taking a 4% nosedive.
Oh, wow.
And the S&P 500, well, it crashed through its 200-day average like a bull in a china shop. I mean, it's a day for the record books.
Yeah, definitely a wake-up call.
Yeah.
And there's a couple factors at play here.
Okay.
First, there's the fear of a recession.
Right.
The economy has been slowing down, and investors are worried about what that means for their portfolios.
Right, so they start hitting the sell button faster than you can say bear market.
Exactly. And then on top of that, you've got the uncertainty around trade policy.
Okay.
The possibility of a certain someone returning to the White House with their America First approach and their love of tariffs is making investors nervous. They remember the trade wars and the market volatility of the past.
Right, and let's not forget, sometimes the market just gets a little, emotional.
Yeah.
It's like that friend who just panics at the slightest sign of trouble. Suddenly, everyone's jumping ship, driving the prices down even further.
Classic case of a technical sell-off where fear itself becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right, so if you're listening to this and thinking, great, now I'm worried about my retirement fund.
Yeah.
Don't panic just yet. A single stock market dip doesn't necessarily mean the sky is falling.
Right. The U.S. economy is complex. It's been through ups and downs before, but this particular dip does give us a chance to ask some big questions.
Okay.
Is America's global dominance on shaky ground?
Okay.
Is the American dream, that idea of upward mobility and opportunity, starting to fade?
And how much of this can be attributed to the potential return of the Make America Great Again agenda? I mean, we really got to unpack that.
Absolutely. The policies had a big impact last time. They could definitely shake things up again.
Okay, so let's talk about America first.
Okay.
Love it or hate it, it was a pretty big deal. And our research shows it actually had some positive effects between 2017 and 2020. Manufacturing jobs in the U.S. increased by 409,000. Yeah. That's a lot of new paychecks.
That's true, but the pandemic wiped out a lot of those gains.
Yeah.
It's really tough to say whether those jobs would have continued to grow without the, global disruption of COVID-19.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's kind of a mixed bag.
It is.
And then there's this whole theory about Trump as a market manipulator.
Right.
Some people believe that he deliberately created economic chaos
Wow.
to make the current administration look bad.
Huh.
It's a pretty wild theory.
It is.
But it's out there.
Yeah, it's fueled a lot of debate.
Yeah.
Did he understand the long-term consequences of his actions, or was he just focused on short-term gains?
Yeah.
It's hard to know for sure,
Right.
But the market reacts to uncertainty, and his unpredictable style definitely created a lot of that.
Okay, but let's step back from the political drama for a moment. Even if we set aside the whole, did he or didn't he debate, the potential impact of America First policies on the global stage is significant.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond just the U.S.
Okay.
Our sources highlight concerns about global trade disruptions and financial market instability if those policies return.
Right.
I mean, imagine a world where trade wars are the norm and global supply chains are constantly disrupted. I mean, that's not a pretty picture for anyone.
No, it's like that game of Jenga we were talking about earlier. Someone pulls the wrong block and the whole tower comes crashing down.
Precisely. And from an investor's perspective, if America seems unstable or unpredictable, they might start looking for safer places to put their money.
Like, where is there a hot new market that everyone's buzzing about?
Well, our sources point to India and Southeast Asia as potential beneficiaries of this shift.
Interesting.
They're seen as emerging economies with lots of growth potential and perhaps a bit less political drama. Investors are always looking for the next big thing.
Right.
And those regions seem to fit the bill.
Interesting. So are we saying that the U.S. dollar might lose its status as the world's reserve currency? I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
It is. Economists are calling it de-dollarization.
Okay.
And it's something that's been discussed for a while now. Basically, other countries might start using their own currencies for international transactions or even create new reserve currencies altogether. And that would diminish the power of the U.S. dollar and have ripple effects throughout the global economy.
Okay, so maybe you're thinking, I'm not a Wall Street tycoon, so why should I care about any of this?
Wait.
Well, here's why this stuff impacts your daily life, too. Think about the price of, I don't know, a gallon of milk.
Or that new phone you've been eyeing.
Exactly. If we get caught in a spiral of trade wars and supply chain disruptions, those everyday items are going to cost a lot more.
Yeah.
You might have to choose between avocado toast and your retirement fund.
Right.
Tough choices.
It's not just about prices either. There are deeper cultural and social implications at play here. If America becomes more isolated,
right,
it could affect everything from our relationships with other countries to the very idea of the American dream.
Right. Can we really be both America first and a leader on the global stage? Can we build walls and still attract the best and brightest from around the world?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah, it's a contradiction that's hard to ignore.
It is.
It's almost like America is trying to squeeze into a pair of jeans from its high school glory days, and they just don't fit anymore.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
I think it captures the tension perfectly.
So where do we go from here? Is this the beginning of America's decline?
Yeah.
Or can we find a way to adapt and thrive in this new complex world?
It's a good question. That's the question, isn't it? And it's not just about economic indicators either. This potential shift has huge implications for the American dream itself.
Right. If the U.S. economy falters and opportunities dry up, can the American dream even still exist?
Well, the American dream has always been kind of a shapeshifter. You know, it means different things to different people.
For sure.
For some people, it's about financial success, you know, the classic rags to riches story.
Right.
For others, it's about freedom, opportunity, creating a better life for their kids.
But all those things are kind of interconnected, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's hard to feel free or optimistic when you're struggling to put food on the table or worried about losing your job.
Right.
And if certain policies lead to more economic instability, well, that's going to impact everything.
Exactly. One of our sources, a sociologist at Stanford, argues that economic anxiety can erode social trust and lead to political polarization.
Oh, wow.
You know, people start to feel like the system is rigged against them, and they become more susceptible to divisive rhetoric and extremist ideologies.
Oh, yeah. We saw that happen in the early 2020s, right? The rise of misinformation and just all the anger and frustration on social media.
It was a wake-up call for sure.
Yeah, it felt like the fabric of society was kind of fraying.
Right. It was, and it's a reminder that economic policy isn't just about numbers and spreadsheets. You know, it has real-world consequences for people's lives, their sense of security, their belief in the future.
So let's play devil's advocate for a moment.
Yeah.
Let's say America does go full-on isolationist. We build walls, both literal and metaphorical, and we try to go it alone.
Okay.
What happens then? Does America just fade away?
That's a fascinating question. I mean, it's hard to imagine American culture losing all its influence. Our movies, music technology, these are global phenomena.
Yeah, but it's not just about exporting products and entertainment, right? It's about ideas and values, a certain way of life that America has projected onto the world stage.
You're right, and that's where the contradictions come. And America has always been a nation of contradictions. We champion freedom and democracy, but we also have a history of interventionism and military might.
For sure.
We celebrate diversity, but we grapple with persistent inequalities.
Right, so how do we reconcile those contradictions? I mean, can we retreat from the world and still hold on to those ideals? Or do we need to rethink our role in the 21st century?
That's the challenge facing America today, and it's not a simple one. One of our sources, a historian specializing in American foreign policy, argues that America needs to find a new narrative.
Okay.
A new way of engaging with the world that acknowledges both our strengths and our flaws.
So it's not about make America great again, but maybe make America something else.
Maybe.
Something more adaptable, more collaborative, maybe even a little more humble.
Perhaps it's about recognizing that the world has changed and America needs to change with it. We can't cling to these outdated notions of power and dominance.
So are we saying the American dream is dead, or does it just need a serious makeover?
I think it needs a serious conversation.
Okay.
We need to ask ourselves what the American dream means in a world that's facing climate change, global pandemics, and economic upheaval.
And we need to figure out how to make that dream accessible to everyone.
Exactly. It's about creating a more inclusive, equitable, and sustainable vision for the future.
Okay, so we've explored some pretty heavy topics here. Is there any room for optimism?
Sure.
Any reason to believe that America can navigate these challenges and emerge stronger on the other side?
I believe America has a remarkable capacity for reinvention.
Okay.
We've faced crises before, and we've found ways to adapt and innovate.
Okay, so we talked about the challenges facing America, but let's get practical. What can actually be done? How do we move forward?
Well, one thing that comes up again and again in our sources is the need for a smarter approach to globalization.
Right.
It's not about shutting ourselves off from the world.
Right.
It's about engaging in a way that benefits everyone, not just a few.
Right, like maybe instead of throwing around tariffs like they're confetti,
Right.
we focus on, building stronger relationships with countries that share our values and our interests.
Exactly. It's about cooperation, not just competition. It's recognizing that we can't solve global problems like climate change or pandemics by going it alone.
But what about the divisions here at home? We've talked about the social and political polarization.
Yeah.
How do we even begin to bridge that gap? It feels like everyone's just stuck in their own echo chambers, shouting past each other.
Well, it might sound cliche, but I think it starts with listening. Really listening to people with different viewpoints, trying to understand their perspectives and finding that common ground.
Easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen the comment section on any news article lately?
Oh, I know it can be discouraging.
It's a war zone.
But there are people and organizations out there working to create spaces for civil discourse, for respectful debate and constructive dialogue.
That gives me some hope.
Yeah.
Because if we can't even talk to each other, how are we going to tackle these huge issues?
Exactly. And these problems aren't going away. They're only going to get more urgent as the world gets more interconnected.
So is America doomed? Are we destined to become a fading superpower, just reminiscing about the good old days?
I don't think so. I see this as a moment of truth for America, We have a choice to make. We can either cling to these outdated ideas and policies, or we can embrace a new vision for the future.
A vision that's more inclusive, more equitable, more sustainable. A vision that recognizes that true strength comes from collaboration and innovation and a willingness to evolve.
That's the America I believe in.
Yeah.
An America that's not afraid to face its challenges, to learn from its mistakes, and to build a better future for all its citizens.
That's an inspiring thought, and it's a good reminder that we're not just passive passengers on this journey.
Yeah.
We all have a role to play in shaping America's future.
Absolutely. So to our listeners out there, I want to leave you with this question.
Okay.
What kind of America do you want to see? What kind of future do you want to build?
And with that thought-provoking question, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us as we explore the stock market, the American dream, and the future of America itself.
It's been quite a journey.
It has, and we hope it sparked some important conversations and inspired you to think about your own role in shaping the future.
Don't forget to subscribe to The Deep Dive wherever you get your podcasts, and share this episode with your friends, family, and anyone who's curious about America's place in the world.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
And keep asking those tough questions.
I just want to give another shout out to Micky from Mickytolife. His channel is a treasure trove of inspiration, and he's a huge Sip&Talk fan.
Absolutely. Make sure to check him out and maybe even share your awesome podcast intro with him once you've created it.